What I want to talk to you about is bullying. So I think it's a topic that needs to be discussed, and it covers a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about anyway. So to do so, what I want to do is I want to share my story and my experience with bullying, because through my life experience, I've experienced both sides. So when I was younger, I was the bully. So growing up, first of all, it started off with my brother, just being an older brother. That was where the bullying started. What's that say there? It's all good. Okay, yeah. So that's probably where it all started. That's just typical. That would be in most families with older siblings. So there's nothing too shocking there. But then it kind of went, as I was growing up, like some of my older friends that I looked up to, I didn't even recognise it as bullying at the time. I just thought they were being funny. But what they would do is they would just tease or put shit on, or just make jokes of other people. And I thought it was hilarious. Growing up, I thought it was so funny that I aspired to be like that. So going through my primary school years, that's what I did. I was a class clown. I was a textbook bully too, because I was a little bit bigger for my age. And I was just trying to be funny. Like, that's probably where I was coming from. I was trying to be funny, but now that I kind of reflect on it, I can see that during those years, things probably weren't going so good for me at home. My parents divorced when I was probably 6 or 7 years old, so that was probably around the time of primary school as well. And when you're in your kid, you compare yourself to other people, and that's what I did. I compared myself to other kids, and I'm like, oh, well, all these kids have got their families together, so I already felt less than. On top of all the trapped thoughts and emotions that I had around being not good enough, and just not being confident, and just insecure, and and being a bit chubby as well. Like, there was just all these things that just kind of piled up that made me probably insecure. But during that phase of my life, where I found significance in the world was being funny. If I could put shit on someone or tease someone and make them look bad and make me be the funny guy, that was all I was trying to do at that point. Like when I reflected over my life years later, like that can really, I realised that how badly it can affect people. Like, I would do it to the point where I would make people cry. And you bully them, or you are aiming for the parts that they're going to be sensitive about. Like, what buttons to push, and you would just go and push them as hard as you could until you got that reaction of them crying or breaking down or something, or just to get the laugh. So that was sort of where I was coming from during primary school. Then when the shift happened from primary school to high school, an interesting thing happened is, because I didn't have the confidence and I was depressed and had the insecurity, even though I was the bully in primary school, when I got to high school, all of a sudden I was the small fish in a big pond. And on top of that, you go into the whole social scene where girls become a more important part of your life. And not being confident, or feeling that I looked attractive, then it kind of just put me into more of a weaker position. And then what happened during high school years is I probably did a little bit of bullying, not as bad as it was in primary school, but I really just bullied myself during them years. Like, I'd really just beat myself up. I didn't need anyone else to do it. But I was, again, it's kind of followed the theme and the thread of, like, if there was an opportunity to make fun of someone and for me to be funny, then I was gonna do it. Or if someone else was being teasing or putting shit on someone, I'd be the first person to laugh and get on board with that. So I didn't really think too much of it at the time. I just thought it was funny and we were having fun. And then if you fast forward a few years, like a few of you were familiar with my story, how I got caught up in the party scene and then the drug world. All of a sudden I'm a very small fish in an extremely big pond. So. And that whole world revolves around bullying and intimidation and fear and all that kind of stuff. So, I felt the full force of the bullying, especially when I was in jail. People will intimidate you and put the fear of God in you so that they can get what they want. And then once they do it once, then that becomes a pattern. It becomes learned behaviour. They're conditioning you, they'll be there the same time the next day to do it again if you allow it to happen. That's probably the both sides of it. I think that the karma or the universe has a funny way letting people experience both sides. It was almost like harmless bullying, what I thought, during my younger years. But then when I was on the receiving end of getting bullied when I was older, it really made me reflect of just what a shit person I'd been at certain points when I was younger, and how much it affected people. Part of what I did when I was in jail, when I was turning my life around, is I did the AA and the NA program. So for those of you that don't know what it is, it's Alcohol Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. And basically it's a 12-step program to help you recover from your addiction to drugs and alcohol. What I found, there's a lot of good things about that system. I think it can be improved, but anyway, part of the system is that one of the steps is you've got to write a letter to the people who you feel your addictions have caused pain to in the past. So for me, it was much deeper than the alcohol and the drugs. It was me as a person. So what I did was I just reflected over my whole life through primary school and high school, and I just really thought about like some of the things that I said, because now that I'd felt the pain, I'd been on the receiving end of it. I knew what it really felt like, and during your primary school years, your brain's forming in them years. Like you're attaching meaning to the world and human beings and all sorts of stuff. So here's me thinking it's just harmless fun and we're having a laugh and I can make everyone laugh at you. But that can affect a person's life, massively, especially at that point. And it's same during your teen years. The social part of your brain is developing so much that it can just have a massive effect on you. And I was just completely unaware at the time. Like people could have told me that, but I just wouldn't have been interested in listening because I was just a teenager or a kid wanting to have fun. So anyway, I wrote these letters and I wasn't hoping to get a response. I was just doing it because I felt it was the right thing to do. I felt these people deserved an explanation and apology, and I felt that they needed to be emotionally set free. Hi, Troy. I just felt that they needed to be emotionally set free. So writing the letters was part of my healing process because, I wanted to let them know that when I did that came from a place of my own insecurities and my own shortcomings was one of the main reasons I did it. And now that I've experienced the other side of it, just how sorry I was and how bad that I felt of the pain and hurt that I'd caused, certain people at certain points in their life. So that's where it sort of come from. So to break down the psychology of it, the psychology of a bully, they're not a confident person. Generally, they don't have a lot of good things going on at home or in other areas of their life. If you've got goals to look forward to and you're happy with the relationships with your family and your friends and all that kind of stuff, you don't have the need to bully. You've got too many other good things going on, so why would you even bother bullying? It just doesn't make sense. So that's the psychology of it. They're coming from a place of inferiority, like they think that everyone's better than them. So their end game is to make people feel less than them. So it's a power game. How can I make a person feel less than? If I've got to make fun of them, put shit on them, threaten them, intimidate them, whatever's going to make a person feel less than, that's what it is. That's kind of the psychology behind it. So I know that parents and teachers will say that to you, when you're younger, or if they're trying to talk to you about bullying, the bullies, they're only doing that to make themselves feel better. Yeah, but that doesn't really explain, the depths of what's really going on in their life. They're feeling so insecure, so unhappy that what happens is when they see someone who has what they want, which could just be someone being relaxed, someone being happy, someone who's just happy and comfortable with their own skin, it could be anything. If they look at someone and they can find a way to make that person be a winner compared to them, they then become a target. So that's the psychology of it, from the bully. On the other side is the person getting bullied. So to me, the psychology behind that, I believe that a person getting bullied, to some degree, it's a test and a lesson from the universe for you to be able to stand up for yourself, whether it be emotionally or by using your thoughts, or just by having a physical presence. There's a degree of confidence and assertiveness that comes with that, and that's what you're meant to learn. So I'm not saying that you should get up and fight back physically. What I'm saying is that it's here to teach you resilience, so your ability to bounce back. If a bully comes and pushes your buttons, then the universe is teaching you, well, you need to be able to release that button and come back to your balance point, your happy and relaxed spot. G'day, Fish, how are you, mate? So yeah, that's kind of what the universe is trying to teach you to do at that point, and getting back to your balance point, back to your set point. Because what happens is when a bully comes along and pushes your buttons, so they put fear in you or they just make you feel less than them, right? It pushes your pain body, your ego, and then you get stuck in that. Then what happens is you have a physical reaction and then a reaction that other people can see. So when they can see that, that's what they want. Hey Rosie, how are you? They're doing it to get that reaction out of you. And the more of a reaction that you get them, the more they're going to keep on doing it. So there's more of the psychology behind the person getting bullied is a bit of a victim mentality as well. So it's a bit of a why me? Why are they doing this to me? Why aren't they doing this to other people? Why is this happening to me? So that's happening, and that's going to happen until that person with the victim mentality gets a thriving mentality. So a thriving mentality is not only can I solve this problem, but I can easily and confidently solve this problem every day of the week. So there's no point bullying me because I'm going to bounce back. You're better off picking on someone else who doesn't have the ability to bounce back. And that's generally what happens. When the person who gets bullied becomes emotionally stronger, emotionally more resilient, whether the bully realises it or not, they're not getting the reaction that they're after. And when they're not getting the reaction that they're after, imagine the bully is feeding on the negative toxic energy that comes out of that person who's had their button pushed. Right? So it's feeding off that. If it can no longer feed off that, it has to go somewhere else to get that energy, that negative energy from somewhere else. Right? And then that's what it'll do. So then the person who's getting bullied no longer becomes the target. And I do get that what I'm saying is easier said than done, but it is the solution. I've lived on both sides, and that is how I do it. There may be other ways of doing it, but that's personally how I do it. So yeah, now let's talk more of the solution. So we've talked kind of my story, we've talked psychology of the bully and the person getting bullied. Let's talk strategies and solutions. So strategies and solutions, like number one, have a supportive network. Like family, number one, like you've got to have your family backing you up. If you don't have family backing you up, have people in your life that feel like family. A motherly figure, fatherly figure, brotherly figure, sisterly figure. People that just feel like family that have your back. That's a massive one. The other part of it is just is knowing how your G'day Stephen, how are you? Chico, how are you, legend? So the other part of it is just knowing how your mind, so your thoughts work, and also knowing how your emotions work, so how to use your subconscious. If you're empowered in both of them departments, that's going to give you a massive ability to have resilience, empower you to have the ability to bounce back, and then give you that strength. So yeah, supportive network, learn and understand how your brain works, so the thoughts and all that kind of stuff. Learn and understand how your subconscious works, so you can understand emotions. You combine them two with a supportive network, you're then a force to be reckoned with. Like, you're then not going to be an easy target for a bully. I'm not saying that they won't do it, I'm just saying it's going to be more challenging and difficult for them to do it. Let's go a bit more into them strategies. So again, if you don't have family, find people that feel like family. If you don't have the right people in your life, I would go back to the drawing board and, what's that, Chico? Try to watch Bullying at some time. So I'll be in and cut out, mate. Too easy, mate. Yeah, so getting my train of thought back would be the support network. Oh, the friends, that's right. So if you don't have the right family, like if your family don't have your back or you don't have friends that don't have your back, I'll just go back to square one and I'll question your values. So your values are what's important to you. So what's important to you when it comes to a family member? What's important to you when it comes to a friend? Right? That's your starting point, because then you know what you're looking for. So it might be a supportive person. It might be an understanding person. It might be a person who's willing to listen. It might be a person who's got solutions and answers. I don't know what it is for you. They're the questions that you've got to be able to answer. When you know what it is, the world is more likely to deliver that to you on a silver platter. Ask and you shall receive. G'day Adzo, how are you, mate? The AB show on bullying, yes. So Chico and I were talking the other day, and some other people were telling me about it too, that Ian Thorpe did a show on the ABC, I think it was the ABC, about bullying or something. I'm yet to watch it, but I want to, because I'm passionate about this stuff, because I've been on the receiving end and I know how shit it feels, and with what I do, like I'm in constant contact with a lot of people who are either teachers or parents. And the discussions we have around the kids is, it's a scary. I can imagine what it'd be like to have kids, and how scary it would be, and how much worrying there is to do. So to me, it's just having solutions, having answers, so that like we're just not going out into the dark and not knowing what to do. It's being able to, give the kids the information, give them the tools, give them the strategies, so that they can figure it out and know that mum and dad or family are there to have their back if they need that. That's really what they want, and to not be judged. That's a massive part of it as well. So yeah, get with if you don't have the friends and family, if you do have them, make sure they match their values. So some of my values are being understanding, being supportive. So I don't mean people supporting like doing things for me. I just like emotionally supportive, like being positive around me is massively supportive for me. Just someone to talk to is another value that's going to listen and not judge me while I speak, and listen to me while I speak, and then ask good questions after, and know when to give me advice and when not to. No one likes to be told what to do unless they're looking for the answers. All right. So yeah, get into your values, and then a goal for you may become to find these people. If you don't have people in your life that have your back and can help you through a bullying situation, the goal is to then find them. All right. So again, easier said than done, but the goal is to start looking for some good friends, looking for some people who are like family. If you've got good family, spend more time with them, and just remind yourself how grateful you are to have such awesome, loving people in your life. All right, so yeah, there's a bit about it. Let's go a bit further down the rabbit hole into some of the techniques and strategies that people who are bullies. Let's talk about them first. So if you are a bully, and everyone's been a bully at one point in their life, you've either bullied someone else or you've bullied yourself. So let's use that as like the overall running theme. Every single person has an ego in their brain, and and the ego in the brain is a bully, because it tells you constantly that you're not good enough. It tells you constantly how you can't do things, and it tells you constantly how life's shit and it's not going to work out for you. So if you listen to your ego, you are being bullied. Okay? Now, when your ego, or when you're the bully, right, you're coming from a place of insecurity, I'm assuming, or you're coming from a place of you're feeling less than everyone else. You're just feeling not good enough. Now, with the techniques that I've already posted online, they work for any negative emotion, any negative thought, any bad behaviour. So you can use them to start releasing them if you're ready to change from being a bully. If you're a bully and you know you're being a bully, that's your first step. Acknowledge it, understand why you're like that, and then when you're ready to change, when you're open and ready to change, have a look at my techniques and start using them to release your insecurities, to release your self-doubt, to release your lack of confidence. Hello, Gretchen, how are you? To start releasing the triggers and the buttons which are causing you to be a bully. That's the bully side of it. If you are being bullied, techniques and strategies for you. When the bully bullies you, right, he or she pushes your button. When the button gets pushed, it makes you feel a feeling or think a thought, right? That feeling or thought can be released using the techniques that I've put up on my Facebook as well. So, for example, if they do it and they make you feel scared, right, then use the technique, the release technique or the dissolve technique, to get rid of that scared feeling out of your subconscious and therefore out of your thoughts. If they do it and you feel intimidated, if they do it and you feel fear, if they do it and you just feel angry and rage, release those buttons, because those buttons are a vicious cycle that are on repeat, and you are destined to relive them cycles again and again and again until you figure out how to release those emotions on the subconscious level. You aren't going to be able to release those emotions using your brain. So generally when you go and speak to a counsellor and a psychologist, and I know this because I've been there, and there are a lot of good counsellors and psychologists out there, don't get me wrong, but generally that is going to get you to talk about it, and that can help, that can be healing. But to me, I don't believe that thought and the emotion that when the bully pushed your buttons, the thought and the emotion it created, to me, the only way to release that is through the subconscious, because that's where all the emotions are stored and that's where all your programming is. So if you can release it there, that's going to massively, massively help you. If you release enough buttons, you'll experience what I did, coming from a place of feeling like a victim, feeling completely insecure and unconfident, for like 27 years. I released so many buttons, one after the other when I was in jail. I spent 9 months releasing all of my negative thoughts and emotions that had happened to me from my whole life. I got to a point where I was lying on bed in jail in my all greens and my white Dunlop volleys, and I'm staring up at the ceiling, and I thought, fucking hell, this is the first time in my life that I remember feeling relaxed, happy and confident since I was a little kid. So I realised that being confident was just a lack of negative emotions inside the body, which I released through the subconscious. There may be other ways to do it, I don't know, but from all of my experience and people that I've talked to, this is the way to do it. So get on board, guys. So yeah, so I think we've covered a lot of stuff. If there's any other, what else is there? What if it's emotional bullying? Thanks, Mimo, Anne, for that question. So to me, all bullying is emotional, because even if someone's physical, when someone's physical towards another person, it causes an emotional reaction. Or even your own thoughts, right? When your own thoughts tell you you're not good enough, or it's not going to happen, or oh, why would you bother? It's not for you, or it's never going to work, or whatever. Your thoughts are bullying you. That causes an emotional reaction inside the body. Whether you feel stressed, scared, frustrated, angry, fear, or intimidated, it's all an emotional reaction. To release an emotional reaction, you've got to use your subconscious, which means you close your eyes and start talking to your subconscious, which is down near your gut. Use the techniques that I've shown you guys on Facebook and start releasing it. That will get rid of emotional bullying. Generally, the magic number seems to be 3. You've got to release a certain emotion or a certain thought 3 times until you're more in control of it. All right, that just seems to be the magic number for most people. It's give or take for everyone. G'day Shane, how are you, mate? That's the magic number for most people for it to work.